So today we will discuss about earlier in all the sessions we discussed about LWC folder structure, template, JS file, how we can communicate with HTML and JS file, how we can bind data with template file, how we can declare property, right, uh, and how we can bind those property on the template. After that, we also talked about how we can use track decorator and @API decorator, right? What is the purpose of track and what is the purpose of @API? And we also talked about how we can uh, uh, run a loop if you want to show list of records on templates, so we can use template looping, right? So we are now confident about clear about how the communication between HTML template and JS happens, and what are the, you can say that uh, uh, what are the components are being used or used to do the things, right? So we are clear about that now. So when we go into the project, so what task we get? So we have to access the data from the database, right? So I think today topic is most important. So we'll talk about how we can access data from Salesforce in LWC, right? So this is a most important topic, and every time you get a task, every time you get a project, so we'll get to use this feature, right? So to get the data from the Apex, right? So basically there are three ways to get data from Salesforce. In LWC, there are three ways: using Apex, and there is base lightning component also. If you know Aura component, there was record edit form, right? So there is no need to do coding. We can directly access data from that Salesforce, right? That is called LDS Lightning Data Service. So we have in LWC, we have also the same, right? LDS based lightning components means record edit form, record view form. We will talk about later, right? And there is a third option is LDS wire adapter and functions. So basically there are three ways through which we can get the data from the Salesforce. Depending upon the, we can say that depending upon the requirement, depending upon the situation, we can use either of three, right? Either of three we can use. So we'll go one by one, and if we know the feature of these, you can say that these methods, we can easily decide when to use what, right? When we can use Apex thing, when we can use LDS based lightning components, when we can use LDS wire adapter and functions. So first, I will start with Apex. Means there, you can say that this method is highly flexible. We can do everything because we'll talk these two methods later. What does this method do? Without coding, without using Apex, we can access the Salesforce data, but we don't have the much control, right? We cannot do many custom things in this in these methods. But where the requirement is very simple, very plain requirement, we can use this, right? But in Apex, through this method, we have the control, we have the flexibility to whatever we want, we can do using this method, right? So in Apex, in this method, there are also two methods. There are two ways we can call Apex method from LWC. First one is wire Apex method, and second is imperative method. So basically, when we are discussing about decorator, we talked about wire also, @wire. So that is this wire, means this is a decorator, right? So using wire Apex method, and when we cover wire adapter, this is same thing. Means using wire, there are so many adapter functions, and there are so many, you can say that JavaScript function uh, through which we can directly access the data. So that is wire adapter and functions. Now we are talking about wire Apex method. Means through wire we'll be calling the Apex method. you can say that apex class method, and second one is imperatively. So now talk about wire method, right? So we will directly jump to VS Code, right? And we'll see the example and we'll discuss. Let me close all the things. So first of all, uh, when we have to when we have to call apex class method from LWC, so this is a class, right? I have named this class as expose apex method example controller, whatever name we can keep. And there are two methods. So forget this method. We will talk about this method. So you can see that there is a method public static, and its return type of this method is list of contacts, and method name is get contacts. And I am doing simple SOQL, right? It is getting a list of contact records from the system and limit 5, and it will be returning those list of contacts. Means this method is returning list of contact. So if we want to access this method in LWC, first of all we have to annotate with aura enabled. So when we talked about annotation in Apex, we already discussed about what the annotation does. Means it adds extra feature to a method, to a function, to a class, to a variable. So whenever we add aura enabled annotation with before the method, that method becomes available in LWC. So first criteria you can see that aura enabled. The method must be public and global. You cannot make it private or access in LWC. So there is also condition it must be a public or global and must be static. So these are the condition to access the method from Apex class in LWC. So this is the method you can say that uh, you can keep in mind. You keep in mind to access in LWC. I will come later. What is cacheable equal to true? I will come later. So this is the method, and we want to access in LWC. And currently we are discussing about wire apex method. Now come to the LWC. So we already familiar with the structure of the JS file, right? So I have created one LWC wire apex method example. This is a HTML file, this is a JS file, and this is a meta file. Right now come to the JS file. So which method I want to access? This class method. And what is the name of the method? Get contacts. So you can see that I have imported that method. You can see that from the Apex Salesforce Apex slash class name dot method name. So first of all, in LWC JS file, we have to import that method. What is the syntax? You can see that. Import whatever name you can keep, right? Whatever name we can keep here. It's just you can say that a variable which is storing the reference of this method, get contacts. So what is the syntax? Basically, it is a ECMAScript syntax to import from module, right? We are importing Apex class method. What is the name of the class? Exposed Apex method example controller. What is the name of the method? Get contacts at the rate Salesforce Apex, and this method reference is getting stored in this variable, whatever name we can keep here. So I am again repeating. So to access Apex class method, we discussed about what should be the access modifier, right? What should be the annotation there, right? And in JS file, how to import that Apex method. Now, so we are talking about wire method. So to get the to use the wire, we have to first import wire from LWC module. For example, if I remove this wire, I will get an error. Invalid decorator uses. So first of all, to use wire method, we have to import from the LWC module wire. So in wire, so listen my word carefully. In wire, there are also two ways to access the method and do the processing. First one is property method and second is function method. So see the syntax. Means I can say that there is only one line or two line you can say at the rate wire, and what I am using get contacts data. What is this? The name of, you can say that the variable of the function which is storing the reference of the apex class method at the rate wire get contacts data, and here I have what I have done, contacts. Means this is a name of property, this is not a function, this is a name of the property. Then whatever the result come from this method, it will directly get stored in this contacts. So what we are doing, we are just returning the number of you can say that list of contact, and we are storing this those contacts in JS file in this variable. You can say that in this property contacts, the very in single line we are accessing the data. So this is the property method. And again you can see, let's discuss about property method also. And what I have done on HTML, simple, I have written this lightning card. Forget about this syntax. So we have to display those contacts on the LWC. So what we have to use, because those are list of records, right? So we have to use template looping as we discussed in the previous sessions. So what I have done, those list of records are in contacts. So whenever we use property method, we can access using contacts.data. Means whatever we give the name of the property, the records will be stored in data. The contacts, for example, this name can be anything. This name can be anything we can keep. So I have kept it as contacts. So whatever response we will get, it will come in data attribute. Then we have to access using whatever we give the name here dot data. So you can see that in previous session we discussed about how we can loop. So there is a template, right? This is anyone can tell what is this? This is a directive, for each directive, which is used for doing loop on the template. So contacts.data, then for item, it will store each record, each item, and whatever name we can keep here. Item 1, contact, whatever, it's just a reference. Now this whatever we can keep here, and key will be contact.id, because after template loop the first element must have the key attribute. So we have given contact.id, and simple here I am displaying contact.name. So this portion is about wire method with property, you can say that. We just get the number of records, list of contact from the Apex class is stored in a property and just displaying on the LWC. Got this point? Irfan? I think I am not able to hear you.
जी सर, एक्चुअली वो इंटरनेट का थोड़ा ऊपर नीचे कनेक्ट हो रहा है, लेकिन मैं फॉलो कर रहा हूँ.
Sorry, I did not hear.
मैं
क्या
आपको
बोल?
फॉलो कर रहा हूँ. इंटरनेट थोड़ा सा फ्लक्चुएशन है, लेकिन फॉलो कर रहा हूँ.
Okay, no issues.
Okay.
So we can see on the here example. Let's come in. So here we can see that first section, Apex wire property method, and it is displaying all the contacts name. Why 5 contacts are displaying? Because I have in SOQL I have used limit 5. So that's it is displaying all the 5 contacts from the system, from the database. So this is the wire method with property. again, you can see that I have done the same thing. I am displaying the same contacts, 5 contacts using function method. So the syntax is different, means function method means we are storing the response in function. In property method, we are directly storing in property, but in the function method, we are storing, you can say that we are handling the response in the function. So what is the syntax? At the rate wire. What is the name of the method we are trying to access from Apex? That is get contacts data. Then response is being handled by there. It's a method contacts response. Whatever name you can keep here. This is just a function name, right? It is taking 2 parameter data and error. If the data, if the successful connection happens, the result will come in data. If successful connection does not happen, the data comes in error object, right? So if data, then I am storing that I am storing the data in a, I have made a variable property all contact. So this dot all contact data. So this is I have done the same thing but using function method. And the flexibility of this method is that we can do some transformation, we can do some we can, after getting the response, we can do some transformation here, but using property method I cannot do transformation. I have to call another method to do the transformation. So if the requirement is simple, get the records, just display on the template, right? We can use property method also. But the requirement is that get the response and do some processing, we can go through this method.
सर एरर पॉपुलेट नहीं होगा प्रॉपर्टी के केस में?
Sorry?
एरर हम प्रिंट नहीं करा सकते प्रॉपर्टी के से वाई प्रॉपर्टी के केस में?
You can say that, right? You can say that. You cannot.
ओके ओके.
I guess no, you cannot say that. Uh, we can populate the error, but to populate the error, we have to call another function also, right? We have to call another function. We can say that we cannot do the handling here. There is no much control, but in using function method, there is control.
ओके ओके.
Yes. So this same result is coming here. Apex wire function method. The same result is coming here, right? So I have used Apex wire property method and Apex wire function method same. The third is same, but I am passing parameter. I am passing parameter. So if you have to call the parameterized method, right? So for example, I have created one another method, get contacts by name, and it is taking one parameter, a string name. So I have to call this method from the LWC using wire method. So this syntax will be the, you can say that this syntax will be the same, but after the method name, we are passing the you can say that we are passing the parameter like this, and the name of the parameter must be same here. For example, the name of the parameter is name, so here it must match the name, and the case also. It cannot be different case. And you can see that here I have used dollar name. You can see that I have created one variable name and I have used dollar name. What does it mean? Basically, wire is a you can say that reactive you can say that reactive decorator. And if we have, so whenever, so that's why we are using reactive property, means whenever name changes, the wire function get automatically called. Why wire is reactive? It is, if you see whenever I load the page, it is getting called automatically. I am not calling, we are not calling it. It is getting called automatically. It is not getting called from any method like constructor, connected data. It is not getting called. It is getting called directly. So wire is basically reactive. So in this function, we are passing the reactive property. Means we are saying that whenever this value of the name changes, this method get called automatically. This method call automatically, and same handling the same response. Same handling the same response. Wire method with params, right? So what is same? We are getting the response. And if you see this, how whenever I am changing the name, right? For example, I am changing the name Amit. So you can see that the values are getting changed. It is getting called automatically because I have changed the name. And the on the name change, we are assigning the value, whatever we are changing here, we are assigning the value into the name property, and this change causing this wire method to be called automatically. We are not calling in we are not calling this method, right? You can see that on HTML we are not calling anywhere. It is getting called automatically. Why? Because this name variable is getting changed. So this means this provisions means whenever a property changes and it is binded with the wire apex method, that wire apex method calls automatically. So depending upon the situation, we can use this. I will tell you when we can use this, and when we cannot use this, I will tell you. But if you understand the feature, you can decide when we can use the wire apex method. So, right. So for example, I change here test. So you can see that the response is getting changed. It is getting called automatically. Means whenever there is a requirement on the change of the variable, we have to get the data. We have to get the data from the Salesforce. We can use this function, wire method, wire apex method. You can say that we can use wire apex method. And the beauty of this function is that I can show you here. It is a written cacheable true. Why we have used cacheable true means I will show you. Because as we are saying, whenever the property changes, it is the wire apex method called automatically. Means every time the call will go to the server and will get the response. But that is not the case. For example, the initial response is 5. Means in the whole system, I have only 5 records. I am doing the search. And it returns me using there are only 5 contacts using this. You can say that by this name. From this name, you can say that. And again, I typed Amit. It again goes to the server and get the response. And again, if I type test, it will not go to the server. It will get from the cache only because we have already queried for test. I can show you live also this. Let's take this. Let's get this. Let's understand this. How the wire function works perfectly in this requirement. And what is the real use of cacheable, you can understand. I think you must be seeing first time here. So I am showing you. Inspect. And in the network. So you can see that there is a network. You can see carefully. I am typing test. So you can see that the request is going to the server, and server is taking this much of amount, whatever you can see that milliseconds. I have test, right? I have queried for test and I have got the response in this number of milliseconds. Now I am searching Amit. Now again, sorry. Now again response is coming from the, you can say that request has gone to the server and response is coming in this in number of seconds, whatever it is. And now I am clearing the console and now I am typing test. So you can see that there is no request going on the server for this because we have already queried for a test in the previous search. So you can see that the request has not gone to the server this time. There is no any activity in the network section. So this means the response is getting served from the cache, not from the server. So this is the real use of cacheable equal to true. We use cacheable equal to true, cacheable equal to true, but we don't understand why. So whenever there is a requirement, the data is not getting changed frequently at that time. Whenever you can say that whenever user is performing search operation, he have to juggle between the, you can say that he have to uh, search in the same records again and again. So the request should not go every time to the server, should not go. So that is where we can use apex wire method with cacheable equal to true. I hope you must be seeing this first time, understand the cacheable equal to true very clearly, or you have seen earlier, I don't know, but I am guessing you must be seeing it the first time. Have you understand this? Give me a second. So basically, this is the use of wire apex method, and we have also seen what is the real use of cacheable equal to true. Every time we see this annotation, cacheable equal to true, but we don't understand when to use, why to use cacheable equal to true. So I hope this session will give you the clarity when we can use wire apex method and what is the real use of cacheable equal to true.
जी sir. It's
Yes.
good to clear.
Yes, yes. So, so as we already discussed, there are two ways we can call apex method from LWC. We are talking about the wire apex method, right? And in wire apex method, we have seen that wire property method, wire function method with parameters, right? And we understood about uh, cacheable equal to true, right? And we also have clarity about why when to use wire, because it's a reactive in nature, and whenever we have the requirement that ki uh, we have to get the data from the system, uh, and maybe you can say that there is no creation, updation and deletion scenario. We just have to fetch the data on load, or or you can say that on any change of the property. For example, the requirement is that we are changing something on a screen and every time data should get refreshed, we can use wire function. We can also do with apex, another method we will be talking about imperatively, but we can do with the wire method. But yeah, we can say that there is no much control on this method. For example, let take the scenario. I have the scenario. Uh, okay. So I have the scenario. Whenever I change the name to Amit, then it should call the apex method. Then in that scenario, it should call the apex method, right? So, or you can say that what we can say that ki means there is no much control. Whenever, so for example, whenever we change the property method, it call the method again and again. We don't have the control. We cannot control it. We cannot control it because whenever the property changes, this method will get called automatically. My requirement is that I change the property value, right? So to stop this method, I have to stop the assignment also. So the requirement is not like that. I'm saying I'm just giving the little example. It can be a bigger example also. So if you understand the thin example, you can say that there is a very little where there is little difference between wire method and next we will be talking about imperative method. There is a very thin difference. So if you understand the basic difference in bigger example, in bigger requirement, in bigger situation, you can also handle that when to use this method, when to use this method, right? So I'm saying if you change the property name, this function will get automatically called. But in some scenario, I don't want this. In some value, for example, if the value of the name is Amit, I don't want to this method get called. I cannot control this. I cannot. Only way to control it to stop the assignment of this property. But that is not the case. That is where we go for imperative imperative method. Imperative method is nothing. The syntax are different. The syntax are different. These are the, you can say that this is the same. This is the function we have to call. The syntax are different. They are not reactive in nature. We have to call this method, right? So this is a method I have written, call apex using imperative. Call apex using imperative, and there is a, you can say that this is a function which will you can say that in this I am calling which method? Get filter contacts. And this is the reference of this get contacts by name. Get contacts by name. You can see that get contacts by name, right? And we are calling and we are passing parameter. So you can see the syntax of same syntax we are calling here. Get name of the method, and we are passing the parameter. In the imperative method, same syntax, like we are calling the method. What is the name? How do we call the method? The reference of the method, and if there is a parameter, we define the parameter also. This method returns promise, means we handle promise with then. The method has been called after kya after what? Then. If there is a valid result, it will come in here, and if it is a exception, it will come here. This same syntax, you can see that. Get filter contacts, passing the name parameter and storing the response in the result. And I have declared one variable, all filter contact, and assigning the result into that variable. Means the same method I have replaced with the imperative, but it will not get called automatically. In as we saw, it is getting called automatically whenever I am changing the name. On name change, you can see that there is an input text, right? We have already discussed in previous session also. Input text. On the change of the input box, we are calling the method on name change, right? On name change, and we are assigning whatever we are inputting in that input text. We are assigning the property, and whenever the property gets changes, this method is called automatically. Why? Because it's a reactive in nature. Because the parameter we are passing in this method, like $name. So whenever this property changes name, this function get automatically called. So I don't want this method to run here. So I'm doing comment, and we can see the example of imperative. Then what I have to do? I have to call this method explicitly. So let's see first I'm not calling this method. Now let's see the result. Why it is taking too much time? My net is working fine. Okay. Yes, it is. Yeah, fine. So you can see that there is no response. There is no response. And if I type Amit, the response is not coming. Why? Because I have commented the wire method. However, the name property is getting changed, but this method is commented. That's why it is not getting called. Because I don't want to this method to be called, I have commented, right? If this was not commented, the result will be here. But now we have to call this method. So what I will do, this dot, I'm calling this method. Let's see if it is giving the result or not. Now you can see that it is giving the result. I am typing Amit because there is a like query here, right? So wherever the search, you can say that search text contains in the name, it will return all the result, but limit will be 5, right? So Amit, now test. So this is working fine, testing. So testing. So you can see that the same example with the imperative way, not with wired way. So basically, when we can use wire, when we can use imperative, we can summarize also. Let's see, I have written also here. So if you do the summary, if you see the summary, first हमने क्या किया, what we have done, right? First import the Apex method into the JS, right? So whatever method we have to call from the Apex, we have to import. So basically, we are taking example of two methods, right? There are two methods. One method is just returning the contact, and one method is parameterized method, which is returning the contact based on the search, based on the name value, right? So first of all, we have to import these two methods in the JS file. The syntax: import whatever name you can keep. It's just a reference variable, reference of that method. What is the syntax? At the rate Salesforce / Apex, then class name dot method name. Same. I have imported that method. If it is wired, make sure cacheable should be true. Means if it is a wired, you are calling the Apex method using wire approach, wire decorator. Make sure that the method should be annotated with cacheable. As I have already given the example and shown you live how the network we have seen the activity under the network tab on the console. When the request is going to the server and when the request is not going to the server, this is the real. You can say that this is the you can say that increase the performance of the you can say that your code, your system, if you use wire with cacheable equal to true depending upon the situation. We can also use imperative, right? Also, but my situation is like that, we have to search the records again and again. Same record means we are doing search in same set of records. Same set of records. So for example, if I have done same set of search, so again, if I am doing the same set of search, this request would not go to the server. It will directly come from the cache. So this improves the performance. This improves the speed. This improves the you can say that uh, from the user perspective, it will be a very good, right? Speed is very fast. So this is the real use case of wire method, right? Now, if we don't have to do processing wire to a property, right? In wire, we have seen that there are two methods. So whenever we get the response, we directly store in a property. No processing. Just take the response from the apex and store in the variable and directly bind with the template. Here, right, we have done. So if there is no processing, simple, just do the query and show the plain record on the template. Just use this syntax. Nothing. Very, very simple. Means there is example, you just have to show the data in the table. So just do the query, bind in the property and bind onto the HTML. That's it. And whatever element you want to use, I have just shown the name. You can use data table, you can use custom table, whatever is the requirement, will be the design. But if you have to do the some processing, wire to a function, means after getting the response, you want to do some filtration, you want to do some transformation on that response, on those records, then wire to a function means we are calling the method and handling the response in the function, contact response, whatever name you can keep here, right? The response is this method takes two parameter, data and error. The valid, you can say if the response is valid, if the successful is fine, sorry, if the connection is fine, right, the value will come in data, otherwise it will come in error. So this is the if data, I have made a one variable all contact and store it and store the result. So the same thing, it is the same thing, but different way. You can say that different requirement, or if there is not a different requirement, you can use either of these two. This is saving the number of lines, right? So we can use this also. So right. So but in wire function, we also saw the example ki, when we do, you can say that when we are passing the parameter and that parameter should be a reactive dollar name. Here in the imperative method, you can see that we have passed the variable using this dot name, but here we have used dollar name. Means whenever this property changes, this function will get automatically called. If you don't use the name dollar name, it will not get called. If I use this dot name, whatever we do with the property, whenever we change the property, it will not get called. So it must be dollar name. Means there is a requirement whenever we change the property, whenever we are changing something on the screen, the function should get called and show the result on the table. So we can use this. But as we discussed, there is no much control, and we have to use this method very you can say that in very careful way, because if you are doing some process, for example, we are creating and deleting data in the wire method, that is not you can say that is not a valid way to do, because whenever we change the property, it will get called automatically and it will be doing deletion and creation. So if we have to take the control, we can go for imperative. So as I written, to controlling when to call, we can use imperative. Call apex using imperative means what I have done on name change, I am changing the variable, and after changing the variable, I am calling the method explicitly. right? So I have the control when to call. I have to control ki if this dot name equal to this, then we have to call, right? So I have the control here. But in case of wire method, I don't have the control. Whenever the property name change, it get called automatically. So we can say that there is a thin difference. But you can say that result can be massive, performance can be massive depending upon the depending upon what approach you are going to take. So getting my point, can anyone summarize or say something if you have any question, right? So we have discussed this I can say that very important topic. The all LWC revolves around this. Every time we get the data, right? Create the data, get the data. We do the communication with Salesforce. If you are not doing the communication with the Salesforce, you are doing communication with other system, but it will go through the Salesforce only, right? Apex only. If you
Yes,
want,
sir.
yeah.
I get the idea. I mean, it's good, but I have still confusion between how we'll use with connected callbacks or ended callbacks. Uh, right now we are not using and we fetch the data. So what is the criteria we can use either we connected callback or render callback? I'm confused with that thing.
No, I did not understand your question.
Right now we are calling the Apex directly. So in this case, either we are going to use connected callback or no need. Directly we are calling it and
If
fetch
we
the
if
data.
we are using wire, there is no need of connected callback, because on if you want some data on the load, right? So either you can use connected callback, either you can use wire. So wire also get called on load, right? Right, you can see that wire is getting called on load also. I am loading the data. Sorry, I am loading the page, and this section is coming from this method, right? This means this is getting called on load itself. Why it is getting called on load itself? Because we discussed, right? Whenever the data changes, it gets called automatically. So on the load, the data is coming from the apex, so it is getting called automatically. There is also a scenario. uh, Maybe I can give that example in next session. You will understand also ki, means as far I understand, you are saying ki when should I use connected callback and when should I use wire function, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. So there is an example that ki uh, for example, you have a record page. Sorry, yeah, you have a record page, means you are on account record page, and you have placed one lightning web component over there, and you want to display something from that record on lightning web component. So if you use means we have to pass the record id. So I have to make that example. I will show you clearly. On in connected callback, you will not get the record id. But when you use wire function, you can get the record ID. So why that is, I will show you in the next example, next session, right? Ki means what happens na ki we are loading the page, right? We are loading the page. What happens sometimes connected callback runs first, but it does not get the record ID, because the you can say that the reference of record ID does not pass to the lightning web component. But in case of wire, it passes after, for example, lightning web component loads record. You can say that record id record page also loads, but, After some time, record ID passes to the Lightning Web Component, wire function automatically will call the apex. Are you getting my point? If
Yeah,
there,
yeah,
if there is a if there is a gap, if Lightning Web Component does not get record ID on the load of connect on the you can say that while connected callback is running, you will never going to get the record ID, because connected callback call happens one time only on the load, but wire function calls every time. So if wire function miss record ID first time, it will get, whenever it will get, it will call the apex method. I will show you with the example in next session. Then you will understand wire and connected callback also, because connected callback calls only one time, right? It will not going to call every time. Whenever you load the Lightning Web Component means page, then connected callback calls. But wire method calls every time, whenever property changes. Getting my point?
yeah, yeah, sir.
For example, let's assume this is a let me yeah, this is a see example. This is a account. You can say that account record page, and I have this component, Lightning Web Component. I have put, and I want to that account information in Lightning Web Component. So what I have to do. I have to pass the record ID. Let annotate. Means I have to pass record ID into this Lightning Web Component. Record ID. So what I will do, I will take the record ID, and in connected callback method, I will call the apex method, right? In connected callback, I will do the apex, I will call the apex method. But what happens in connected callback, you will not get the record ID every time. It is not sure. So if the connected callback miss the record ID, it will never going to call, means we are not going to get the result. But if we use wire method, and I have binded dollar record ID, so then there is sure it will, whenever it will get the record ID, the data will refresh automatically. We don't have to refresh the page again and again. So this is the, you can say that when to use wire and when to use connected callback. Generally, what people do, use rendered callback. And then in rendered callback, whenever we are going, when we discussed about rendered callback, it get called many times whenever the property changes. So we put the logic, it will call only one time and get the record ID, right? We see the example in in that session. So generally we use rendered callback, but in wire we can use wire also here. I will show you this example in next session, and you will get better understanding.
Okay, okay.
But in this session, any question? In this session, any question? Whatever we have gone through till now.
So let's if we do some practice. If you can share the code, it also will helpful.
Yeah, what I'll do now. Yeah, I will put that code in this mobile app. Right, you can
Okay.
download it
Okay.
from there.
Yeah.
I will
Yeah.
put
Okay.
that code. Okay.
Okay.
So fine, I think in next session we'll discuss more more. We can see that we'll see more example. Then we'll move to the LDS based Lightning components. Then LDS wire adapter and functions. Basically, these all are standard functions. We can use a standard way of getting data from the Salesforce. The only is a custom way to do Apex, and in Apex we have already seen the example wire and imperative. So we understand the basic difference basic understanding, basic features, all the features, and now we can, depending upon the situation, we can decide when to use when. When you do practice now, you always get the understanding how the methods are getting called, when this method is getting called, when this method is not getting called. I have shown you the example of cacheable true. Whenever I cannot say whenever you get the bigger requirement key, there are so many data coming, uh, and my requirement is that every time you don't have to hit the server. So why I'll use imperative method? I will go for cacheable equal to true using wire function. So that is the you can say that we have the understanding now. We can decide whatever we can use. But yeah, but this will require much practice to understand this better, right? I hope uh, we understand the wire and imperative methods, and this is the, you can say that the whole LWC moves around this.
Yeah.
Nothing bigger than this.
Yeah, I think it's very important concepts in LWC, these ones.
And apart from this, there are so many features, right? There are so
Yeah,
many features also, features only. Whenever you read, you will know. You don't read, you will not know. But this basics, you know, you can do anything.
yeah, because it's all working around the data.
Right, right.
So it's really important.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think we can close for now. We can disconnect, right? And I will
Yeah.
upload the session along with the code also.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.